wanted to come on and make this video tonight a little bit about women's roles in terms of the feminine polarity, the divine feminine, whatever you want to call it, and how consistently we have seemed to have lowered our standards in terms of our own morality, what we're willing to accept in terms of treatment from society, from men and women, and sort of what I feel has become almost a descent in morality in so many different ways. So I want to kind of explain what I mean by this. In the last probably 30 years, I've seen this mass explosion of, you would call it feminized, almost like hypersexuality, where women are becoming more and more empowered to have, autonomy over their bodies, over what they want to create in terms of their persona, and also to some degree a great amount of classlessness is the best way I can put it. It's not coming from an intelligent place. It's just women, girls gone wild, with this expectation that it's like the more you drink, the more you party, the more skin you can show, the more kind of, I don't want to say grotesque, but the more sort of controversial you can be, or very, very sexy that you can be, and posting all of that out there somehow makes this modern female feel very empowered. I know where it stems from. It stems from this idea of utilizing our own sexuality to take the power back. Because again, it's something that men will respond to, but it's not a good response we're getting. It's not really what we want to ideally see in the interactions we have with men. It becomes very shallow. It becomes very superficial in the sense that it's all about the external, and it's all about, photos of G-strings and, people partying and girls kissing girls, and just like, it's just sort of the degradation of what is graceful and, the semblance of, I guess, charm, right? Being a lady. I think that idea of being a lady has gone out of fashion to some degree. And it's a little bit sad, because what also goes with the wayside when we lose that desire to be treated like a lady is that we're going to get the treatment of being treated, however a man decides, okay? And if a gentleman or a man or a boy, whatever it is, doesn't see you as a lady, doesn't see you with respect, then essentially you are just something to play with and throw away. And your body's not respected, your mind's not respected, your opinion's not respected, the portrayal of you is not respected. So how they speak about you in front of others, how they speak about you behind your back, and that's a toxic kind of energy. It's not something that, if I was a mother, I would want my daughters to have to experience. And one thing that we have to remember in society and, in our interactions, is that people will treat us how we allow them to treat us. So if we are lowering our standards just to be included, or somehow not be excluded from friend groups because those friend groups are doing things that really don't align with our morals, it's just a sad place to have to be for women of all ages. Again, when we think about the type of society that we want to live in, and some of the different eras, modern eras, where there was an integrity, there was a family values and respect mattered. Now, again, different periods of time called for different things. There was definitely periods of time where women were not even persons, and maybe in the upper class there was some measure of respect for women to a certain extent. But I'm talking about, the post-war eras where, families had been through a lot of turmoil, and they really focused on family values thereafter, and there was a lot of this joy, this just joy for being alive, and then this respect that women were given. Those are, of course, my favorite periods of time in history, where women were glamorous, where, we had pride in our everyday lives, where we'd get up, we'd always curl our hair, we'd always be looking our best, that every aspect of the day was an occasion, whether it was tea time or breakfast, tables were set beautifully. Everything was an art. Everything had a romance to it. And it was a graceful period of time. And I feel like we've kind of gone into the stage of this hedonistic overconsumption of everything to do with fashion and, again, changes within the body, really extreme plastic surgeries, which are fueled by this kind of rampant pornographic or hypersexualized society that basically a lot of the drug culture has made very mainstream. Things like OnlyFans, where women are kind of in the open, essentially being prostitutes. I don't really know any other way to put it, but selling their bodies, selling what should be the most sacred aspect of their feminine spirit, for a monthly membership, and doing things in a way in which, yes, I mean, they might be making money, but what is the cost of making money in that way? It's that, you lose your innocence, you lose the sacredness of what you are. And it also, as women, when we do and engage in these types of behaviors, we lower the standard of society as a whole, because again, if we don't hold men to a particular, standard of their own behavior, then they're just going to do whatever they want in terms of what's going on in popular culture or, in society. And it actually really damages our families. It damages the infrastructure of, all of our experiences in terms of our life and the joy that we can really have here. And, back in the day, there's things that you had to do to engage with a courtship. So you had to have skills. You had to be favorable in multiple ways to be able to have a man call on you or multiple men call on you. You didn't just, show up with a short skirt and, have sex in the bathroom at a club. Like, there was more to it than that. So, we lose a lot with a lot of these amazing traditions that taught us to be graceful and taught us to be well-rounded. Because again, when a man would court a woman back in the day, usually she had to be able to play music, whether it was a violinist or a pianist, she would have had to practice the art of singing, dancing. She would have had to have cooking skills. She would have had to hopefully be well-read and, maybe proficient in horses, riding a horse, different things like this. The whole woman, the whole package. What was she you know, what was she good at? What were her talents? What were her kindnesses? What, you know, what skills did she have? And in the process of courting a woman, the suitor would learn about her. She would learn about him. They would both have to have a certain amount of balance and well-roundedness before they'd even consider, you know, any physical contact. This is the process of learning about the other person, learning if you had the same sense of humor, learning if, you know, the things that you did for your hobbies, were they in line, you know, and did you actually like that person? You know, there was a lot more that went into the romance factor than does nowadays. And I think the kind of the cool thing about it is that there was a lot of foundation laid before you ever even took the step towards physical contact. And you really got to know that individual's family, you got to know their mind, you got to know, you know, what made them laugh, you know, what their adventures they wanted to go on, all of these different things. And it was expected. I mean, it was almost a really wonderful way that society, you know, its expectations were set that being with another individual was sacred and that it shouldn't be taken lightly. And from the female and male side, both men and women were really, really valued having multiple vocations, like multiple skills. If you look at texts like the Kama Sutra, you know, it talks about, I think it was 64 different skill sets that you would want to learn over your lifetime to be the perfect mate. And the idea of this was, and the wisdom of it was, that you were trying to be kind of an all-in-one package. You would always be captivating that person that you were meant to be with. And that was sort of your lifelong goal, is to make them your pilgrimage, to make everything you did for them to keep their life exciting, to really be that muse to them. And this, again, it's sort of gone by the wayside in modern society because our focal point has become, you know, making money as fast as we can, and, you know, really this adherence to, if an individual is good looking, well, great, there's the whole package, you know, rich and good looking, okay, you know, but that's so superficial, and that's so not the basis for a healthy relationship. What's the basis for a healthy relationship is the kaleidoscope of, you know, intricacies that each person has, that, again, it becomes like a pilgrimage. It's that person that you want to study for the rest of your life and know all about them, and know how to lift them up, know how to make them happy, know how to be the best version of yourself for them, but also to watch and pay attention in and of how you could enhance and enrich their life, and the joy in knowing that you're able to do that. So this continual kind of spiraling up throughout your entire life of lifting each other, encouraging each other, really intensely being captivated by the other, because the other person is very interesting, because they've laid the foundation of that. They've taken the time to become a fascinating specimen that you would want to be around. And, you know, when somebody is like that, or if that's the tendencies that they, you know, have really inbred into themselves to be sort of this lifelong learner, or this person that is continually trying new things and getting excited about life in new ways, that's a really beautiful partner to be with. And those are the things that young women and young men need to learn, you know, if they really want solid relationships, is that they have to put work into being, you know, that all around woman or man. And this is what is kind of missing in today's dating game, I think. So again, you know, it's kind of sad, because I feel for you know, our children's, like, I don't have children, but I feel for the younger generation in the sense that it's like, we have all these apps and social media platforms where really the focal point most of the day is just taking pictures and selfies and creating this false bravado of some sort of semblance of a lifestyle that for most people doesn't really exist. And to a degree, I also feel like a lot of it's flash. There's not a lot of intellect behind the lifestyle that's shown. And because of the addiction of that, you know, the posting or having something on your feed or whatever it is, we're really putting the focus on the body, you know, how we look, how all bodies look. And then when you do that, you really descend the mind, whether it is the masculine or the feminine mind, into this idea that they're constantly searching for love or searching for fulfillment from a body. And that's not, it doesn't work that way, you know. What brings two people together is a frequency. It is things that are alike. It is the things that make you like that person, or the common things that you can do together and enjoy together, common music interests, common hobbies, common ways of thinking about the world, you know, whatever it is you study, what are the things that you create. Are you somebody that loves the cinema, loves like TV, whatever it is, but you need to have common interests beyond something just looking good. And again, another downfall that I think a lot of men and women, because they're the other side of it, the trap they get into is, you know, these quick online exchanges of flirting or communication, I guess you could say, but it's not really authentic, and it moves fast and it dies fast, and it's kind of an addiction because it's based on fantasy and not reality. It's not real dates. It's not really being in that person's energy field, and it's simply chatting online, looking at, you know, images of others, and whether that becomes, you know, intimate images, whatever it is, it can have a form of excitement, and it can have, unfortunately as well, an endless kind of cycle of there's always another one. There's always somebody else that's willing to engage in that behavior or chat or meet up quickly. And I find that extremely sad. I've never partaken in it. Thank goodness. I've always been so busy. I've never been on an app like that, but I've seen my friends, I've seen coworkers, I've seen students and young people that I've worked with very much kind of treat the dating world this way, and not really having a lot of trust in just the fact that getting out and about and meeting somebody is usually the most magical way to do so, especially if you're doing something that you really love, like taking an art class or taking a karate class, or, you know, going to the swimming pool, whatever it is, right, that you like doing, and hopefully bumping into somebody that, again, shares those same interests and strike up a conversation. And I do feel to a very high degree that usually the best kind of matches for yourself are going to be people that, you know, it's unexpected. It comes out of nowhere. It's not something that, you know, the perfect guy is not going to pop up on your app, you know, because he's already talking to 20 other girls. And same thing with, you know, the perfect girl isn't going to pop up on an app. To me, that's a lazy way of finding romance. I'm not putting it down, but I don't think it usually yields the type of relationships that are, you know, long lasting. And so I kind of hope that in the next, you know, 10, 20 years, there's a revival of the understanding of courtship and romance and what that really means.